Hello. I would like to explain uh, the use of second inversion triads. Now, in one of the other videos where I'm sitting on the piano and I play some examples of it, I explained that if you put triads in inversion, then they lose some of their harmonic function. The sonority changes. Now, they don't totally lose their harmonic function in first inversion, but they do usually in second inversion. Uh, so you have to be very careful with using a second inversion triad. Second inversion seventh chords are fine, but second inversion triads are relatively rarely used, or they are used only under certain conditions. And these conditions are if the melody is in the bass, or if there's a bass arpeggiation, and these two are pretty self-explanatory. But the three kinds that we use second inversion triads in part writing or some of the other stricter genres is passing 6/4, pedal 6/4, and cadential 6/4. Now, passing 6/4 and pedal 6/4 could be several different kinds of chords, but cadential 6/4 chord is always basically the spelled tonic triad, but in second inversion, followed by the dominant and resolved to the tonic. So I want to show this. Let me make this a little bigger. I want to, let's say, if we're in the piece of music, and then later on, so I won't write this in the first, toward the end of a phrase or maybe the end of the piece in general, if we have a cadential 6/4 chord, if we are in the key of C major, then we are not on C, we would be on G, and the next chord would also be G, and then resolved to C. And this first of the three will be our cadential 6/4 chord. So we need a C, and we can, I don't know yet how I will voice this, E, G, for example. So now I'm doubling what is in the bass, and that is commonly done if we have a second inversion triad. Most common, we double what is in the bass. But it's also possible to double what's in the root, where the root is. The root is C. We can double the C, but we should avoid doubling the E, the third of the chord. So this is our cadential 6/4 chord. We can label it 1/6/4. We can also label it 5/6/4 because it has a dominant function, but the 6/4, the numbers indicate a double suspension. The 6 going to the 5th, the 6 above the bass going to the 5th, and the 4th above the bass going to the 3rd. And then resolving to C. Now, if that's our final one chord, let's say at the end of the piece, we can actually, oh, I misspelled that. So it's E, of course. So we can omit the 5th of the chord and have 1/3 and 3 roots. And so I need to still fill in an alto note here. So this is our G chord, GBD. We have all 3 notes already. So we may possibly even make this a G7, or we could have put G here to double the G. But this is the 7th chord, and the 7th resolves down by step. So if we would label this, then we would write, oh, this is not the text tool. It is the text tool. We would write, we are in the key of C major, and this is our 164 chord. Now I don't have the music font installed where the 6 is supposed to be written higher and the 4 below that. And then we have 5, 7, and then we resolve it to 1. So we call this a cadential 6/4 chord. And the cadential 6/4 chord, although technically the notes are there of the tonic triad, it is not a tonic chord. This is a dominant functioning chord. The cadential 6/4 chord has a dominant function, but it's technically spelled 1/6/4. But I also like the way of labeling it 5/6/4 because that indicates it has the dominant function. But then the 6/4 basically mean those are suspensions. The 6th above the bass resolving to the 5th above the bass, and the 4th above the bass resolving to the 3rd above the bass. So a 6/4. So above the bass. So it could be 5/6/4. Anyways, the other type, one other possible type, is a pedal 6/4. And a pedal is essentially if we have 3 times the note in the bass, and they may be tied over or they may be repeated, but that's called a pedal. But in the pedal 6/4, we have a chord, a regular chord, either root position or first inversion. Here, the first being the first among the 3, and then going to root position or first inversion triad here as the 3rd chord, and the middle one is a second inversion triad. Now if I'm in the key of C, then it is obviously the first one could be a 1. The second one for sure, because we know it's a second inversion triad, must be a 4/6/4. F major is the 4 chord in C, so F A C. So if the C is in the bass, and it's 4/6/4, and this could go to, let's say, 6/6. Now let's see how we could voice this in proper part writing. Let me see if this works out. If we find a mistake, we will simply fix it. Now again, it's a good habit to double what's in the bass if we have a second inversion triad, and it's also a good habit to keep the same note in the same voice. So we have here F, A, C, here C, E, G, C is doubled, here the C is doubled, which is the 5th of the chord, and this will be an A chord in first inversion, A, C, C, E. And so now, if you have studied harmonic progression, you may notice, well, why does a 4 chord go to a 6 chord? Well, it doesn't, because this chord, the pedal 6/4, has lost its harmonic function. So it doesn't really function as a subdominant chord as a 4 chord. It simply functions as an embellishment. And so the real chord progression is going from 1 to 6. And this functions as an embellishing chord. So we call this a pedal 6/4 because a pedal is in the bass. It doesn't have to be with 1, 4, and 6. It could be also 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. You could do this on, or you could even go from no, not with C in the bass, but you can have other notes in the bass, like an A, where you go from a 6 chord to a 2-6-4 to a 4-6. So if the A is the pedal, and so on. So there are other possibilities. With a cadential 6/4 chord, it's always 1-6-4. A pedal 6/4 can be any number. Several different chords can be a pedal 6/4. Let me demonstrate the passing 6/4. Usually, so passing means it goes stepwise up and up again, or it goes stepwise down and down again. So you basically have a stepwise motion, and the chord in the middle is a second inversion triad. Now this, if we are in the key of C, is actually quite common, because we can have 1 going to 5-6-4, going to 1-6. And so let's part write this out. So we can have our C major triad. Let's double the root. Then this is a G chord in second inversion, G, B, D. So G, B, D. All right. So why did I not write the E here? For two reasons. One is because I'm not supposed to double the third in a 1 chord, or in a 4 chord, or in a 5 chord. So in our primary triads we don't double the third, but I would also have created parallels with the bass, so I wanted to avoid that as well. Anyway, so we should always do our systematic error detection, so identifying the intervals between all voice combinations to make sure that we don't have any parallels. But this looks fine. So we have one example of a passing 6/4 chord. It does not have to be 5. It can appear on other scale degrees, but the feature is that the bass goes stepwise, either up or down, and the middle one, the chord in the middle is a second inversion triad. Now, among all those examples, I said usually the second inversion triad has lost its harmonic function, but in fact the 5 chord has such a strong pull to resolve to the 1, this doesn't totally lose its harmonic function. We still hear this pull, we still hear the dominant function if it is 5-6-4. But we could also have, for example, A, G, F, and in this case we can have a 6 chord going to 1-6-4 chord going to a 4 chord, and here the tonic chord has lost its harmonic function. It's purely embellishing, has an embellishing function, but doesn't have harmonic function. I mean, the harmonic function is an embellishing function, but not the original tonic function. The real progression really is from 6 to 4. So anyways, I was just thinking if I can give just one other example here with the pedal. I think I mentioned one earlier with A, so I will write this out, and that could very well be now I said earlier it could be a 6 chord going to a 4-6, could also be 4-6 going back to 4-6, but so it could be 6 going to 2-6-4, going to 4-6 is more interesting. So here we have another example of pedal 6-4. So 2 examples of pedal 6-4, 2 examples of passing 6-4, and there's always only one cadential 6-4. And before I let you go, I have to say one very important thing is that the cadential 6-4 chord usually falls on a strong beat or an emphasized portion of a beat, whereby the pedal and the passing 6-4s usually fall on unemphasized portions of measures. So in a 4/4 meter, now I wrote them here in whole notes, but of course in real music, you would find the pedal 6/4 or the passing 6/4 maybe on beats 2 or 4, because those are less emphasized, whereby a cadential 6/4 chord you would find on beat 1 or beat 3, an emphasized beat. Okay, anyways, these are relatively common, but they only, second-inversion triads usually only occur under those circumstances. So it's very important to keep that in mind when analyzing music or writing music. Okay, enjoy writing music. Bye.